Okay, so welcome everybody on this another intuitive session of LAFFAZlive on connecting the dots of freelancing, COVID-19, and gig economy. I am Mohammed Haseeb, one of the co-founders and CEO of LAFFAZ Media. I'm your host and moderator for this session. And to lead this session, we have Marwan Abdelaziz, who is the CEO of Ureed.com, one of the leading marketplaces for freelancers and businesses across the Middle East region. And let's start with today's session. So I would like to know more about Marwan. So how are you, Marwan, and from where you've been attending this session right now?
Thank you so much, Haseeb, for the introduction. Pleasure meeting you, and thanks for everyone for attending this. It's a very exciting time for us this year. With all what's been happening with COVID-19, a lot of people are moving more and more into remote. We found ourselves, being crunched into having to accelerate our growth and pick up the slack, basically, from all the years that we've been ignoring remote work for so long. That's. I'm very excited about this session, and I'm ready to share some thoughts on the industry.
Thank you so much, Marwan. So let's begin with the basics. So we would first like to know that what exactly triggered your mind to start Ureed, and what draws the line between Ureed and other similar platforms that we have across Middle East as well as globally.
Okay, so basically Ureed actually started way back in 2017, and it was basically a department within a company called Tarjama, which is one of the largest language service providers here in the region. And Ureed started as a department to source talent, just like any other company that is struggling with fulfilling unmet demand. So Noor back then started Ureed as a very small website, small proof of concept, MVP, you name it. And they started basically recruiting and onboarding a ton of freelancers. They had a massive amount of demand, and in highly transactional industries like translation, it's very difficult to keep on hiring consistently with consistent quality. So they started to read back 2017, and this remote work idea, although it was a bit alien to many industries, it has been apparent in translation for the longest time. So between 2017 and 2018, they were able to acquire a very large number of freelancers, around 18,000 freelancers, all of them vetted and tested, and they started onboarding them on projects constantly from corporate and enterprise clients across the region. And then I remember I joined Tarjama back in 2018, and towards the end, we started to see a massive trend from our clients asking for a diverse number of services, not only translation content. So basically, we spun off Ureed completely from Tarjama, and we became our own entity. And we raised a seed round, and the objective behind that was to basically diversify our service line in a way to allow clients to hire all sorts of professional services and talents across the MENA region. And what differentiates us from other marketplaces, number one, is that we're highly focused on MENA. Of course, we have ambition to grow beyond the region, but at the moment we see a massive gap in both opportunities and demand and talent, across the region, and this is where we're focused. We're also extremely connected to the local community across several countries across the Middle East. So we work very closely with clients to transition them from being extremely traditional in the way they source talent and services to allow them to work with more freelancers and allow more remote opportunities.
All right. Thank you so much. Since we've gotten to know a lot about Ureed and when you started, and also a little angle of Tarjama. So speaking in light of COVID-19 pandemic situation, so I'm thinking, so would it be really righteous to say that COVID-19 has garnered opportunities for individuals and freelancers, and we now have a remote culture? And how did Ureed contribute towards freelancers during this pandemic situation?
Okay, so definitely COVID-19 accelerated this remote culture like no other trigger ever in this region or in this part of the world, because it was an alien concept completely for big companies, especially enterprises and even government entities, to allow employees to operate outside of their premise. So what we saw is that more and more clients started to accept the fact that you cannot have all the talent you need and all your requirements met while having people have to work from your office, right? So that opened an avenue for talented people everywhere to have this democratized opportunity base. So if you're an excellent designer based out of Morocco, or you're a software engineer based in Lebanon, you can still work with any client anywhere around the world. And we hammered on that big time, both in markets where we operate, where we have clients such as Egypt or Jordan or even Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Right now, hiring managers and entrepreneurs and even entrepreneurs, they finally saw that, opportunity that if I need something to be done, I don't have to wait for 3 months and pay thousands of dirhams or dollars to get it realized. I can simply tap into a very large network of talent, do a lot of experimentation before I can commit long term to a particular talent, right? So we help them transition into this quickly. And of course, everyone knows that between March and July, when the crisis started, to snowball, a lot of companies freeze the hiring completely. And the problem when you freeze hire is that you get a huge impact not only on profits and revenue, but productivity as well. So a lot of companies stood still; they didn't do anything about it. But other companies that were progressive enough or had massive targets in sight, they had to find a solution for this. So the solution was apparent that you can start tapping into freelancing or remote work. So we saw a massive bump in our demand from both enterprise clients and even direct clients on the platform. And we finally saw people who unfortunately either lost their jobs or lost their projects they're working on moving to freelancing. So we expect those people to stick around even after the crisis, because that was the first time and highly talented people started to realize, what, I can make a career out of freelancing. This was not an option before, and we're glad to be contributing to changing this culture across the region.
All right. Since we got to know a lot about the contributional factor of Ureed towards the freelancing community and businesses. So, having said that, what type of patterns are you witnessing from the demand side of businesses ever since you started your journey back into 2017? At that time in 2017, situations were different. That was the normal period of time when we were actually thinking or starting of doing business and hiring workforce. But now the ecosystem has been entirely changed. So, moving forward, what do you see? How will that this remote work or freelancing will still be in demand by government institutions or corporates?
Absolutely. I think that's the new normal. It's not even a normal that we're going to get used to after the crisis. I think that became apparent because people were treading very carefully with remote work, right? But now they tried and tested everything. They know how it works. They know how to set up cadence. They know how to hire people remotely. For example, Reed is a 10-month-old company. We just started in January, or 11 months actually. And all of our staff have been working remotely, a completely functional company that has no office whatsoever. So this became a normal thing for hiring managers to expect to do, right? And the other thing is this massive opportunity that opened up for people, that I don't have to be tied to a particular, let's say, scope of talent, right? So if you want software engineers or you want to build a product in the UAE, every entrepreneur knows that's a very expensive thing to do, right? You need to hire a full team of back end, front end, product management, UX, UI, and all of that stuff would require massive investment. So right now you can simply tap into the region around you, or even extend your reach into Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe, and find an amazing talent base that can help you build your MVP. Once you have a proven product, you can go out and try, to either raise a fund or generate revenue in any way, shape, or form. So when you ask about the sectors or the categories that we're getting asked for, majority of it have been tech for sure, because there is a very clear gap in the market here. And people have been struggling for the longest time. Talk to any CEO or any entrepreneur. they will tell you that engineering is always, or product is always the biggest hurdle that they have, or the biggest issue when it comes to talent gap. So I think it will consistently be better and better over time if entrepreneurs and CEOs started look outside of their limited geography and start tapping into other countries around the region, coupled with their understanding and their new ability to manage people remotely. This will be a great success story. Other than that, we see a massive increase in experimentation, which is it was a great enlightening insight for us, because you see a lot of people are working in massive companies. They're always tied to the circle around them, or people who are working directly with them, right? So if you have an idea as a director or a manager or even a VP in a company, you need to go through a lot of red tape in order to get this idea tested. What we saw now is that procurement departments and even HR departments are working with us to get their VPs, directors, or even managers the opportunity to experiment with either projects or initiatives through freelancers. If that was proven to be something effective or something useful for the company, they can start insourcing or moving it back into the company. So we saw that an increase in things like content, translation, UX, UI is definitely the biggest, because it's usually where all the products start, as well as software engineering. We saw massive companies with massive tech talents, some of the biggest in the region, outsourcing some of their work to freelance developers, which was unheard of just a few months ago, not even years, months ago. So yeah, that's my thought on this, basically.
So I certainly believe that we can be certain that freelancing is not an alien concept for corporates or government institutions now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so hearing from your side, I believe Ureed is doing an affirmable job for the community at this time, and moving forward, it will continue to do the same. So since we have got to know about all the positive aspects of Ureed and the freelancing ecosystem, so thinking about any limitations, or do you witness any limitations about this new remote working ecosystem as well?
Limitation is definitely going to be mindset, because this is always the issue with freelancing, right? The culture of trust between someone who's sitting 1,000 miles away or even a few miles away but at their home is always going to be an issue here in the region until it's changed, right? Because we've been behind on freelancing generally as a region for the past decade, while other countries have been doing this for years. So I think our job, or our main, let's say, vision or objective, is to start working with all those companies to get them to accept the fact that you can work with people remotely. While a lot of leaders and business leaders and government leaders are leading the change when it comes to culture of hiring, it will take some time to get majority of the market to accept this fact and start, experimenting with freelancing. The other thing is abuse, for sure. We don't want this to become, a tool that companies or organizations use to, to offload all their costs and all their full-time employees to become contractors. We want this to be a tool for people to use to increase their productivity. But at the same time, we will be working very hard in the next couple of years to ensure that those people have their rights as well preserved, whether it's by their health insurance, their benefits that they're looking for. It can be matched to what a full-time employee would get. So we're working as well with regulators on that, between two of the biggest market, which is Saudi Arabia and the UAE, to ensure that those protections and those, let's say, regulations are in place to help both the companies and the employees and the contractors. We don't want to end up in a situation where companies leveraging that, to get advantage of people. And we don't want as well freelancers who made this conscious decision of moving into the freelancing world to feel like they're missing out on all the benefits that typically a full-time employee would get. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. So, do you would you like to advise any you see people businesses who are actually basically COVID-19 was a time where people had no choice but to actually accept a remote working ecosystem, but we have certain limitations of the same as well. So, would you like to provide any advice to the freelancing community as well as the business institutions during this period and moving forward as well?
Definitely. I think this is a conversation that I've been having with a lot of freelancers and a lot of people in the community as well, that we need to do massive reskilling. Because, yes, there are some people who have been used to corporate life for so long, but being a freelancer means that you have to be versatile. You need to become a business on your own. You don't need to think about yourself as I'm a contractor, I'm here temporarily and then I'm going to leave. You need to treat this client as if you're a company and this is a business that you're dealing with. And that means you need to extend your skill set beyond what you can technically deliver. I've seen so many freelancers that I've worked personally with, and I probably hired over 200 freelancers this year myself personally. And I can see that they're really good at what they do. But when it comes to, let's say, dealing with clients, handling payments, negotiating their contracts, and other things like that, they always fell short because they're either not used to the experience, they don't have the required, let's say, background and experience to do so. So if I'm a freelancer today, I invest a portion of my week to start learning about those things, how to, manage clients, how to manage expectations, how to manage my timeline and manage expectations on what I'll be able to deliver. Never overpromise and underdeliver, always the opposite, right? So all those things needs to be taught somehow. And we're working now with the IFC on actually releasing a massive course that would educate and train those freelancers on. You need to remember at the end of the day that you need to build a long-term relationship. It's not a great idea to be a freelancer with 500 clients. It's better to have 5 clients and be recurring, right? So building a relationship with your clients is something that is quite important, that business has figured out ages ago, right? If you talk to any service provider and look at their balance sheet, look at the revenue, you will see that they have 5 or 6 clients that bringing in the most revenue, and they have a lot of clients that basically work in a revolving door. They come in and out constantly. That's not good for business. That's not good for your mental health, even to have to deal with many different people. So if freelancers are good at the core of what they do, whether you're a developer, even a translator, a writer, whatever, being able to deal with clients will be a massive add-on for your career, and you'll literally be able to turn this into a massive opportunity for you.
So one final question, Marwan. So as I believe it is a very crucial period, considering that we are rapidly moving towards a fast-paced gig economy system, especially after COVID-19. What changes or updates have you made in Uri's expansion plans and any new initiatives that you have planned that would mutually benefit businesses and freelancers?
Okay, so we've done a couple of things. The first one being the product itself. When we launched back in July, we launched a very small MVP. We wanted to test if this thing is going to work out or not, in the beginning, just like any other startup. So we built an MVP and it's been working okay, not great, but okay enough for majority of our customer base, whether enterprise clients or direct clients on Reed. So what we did in the past 3 or 4 months, we've been investing a lot of time and effort into rebuilding our products from the ground up, based on all the cultural and business insights that we collected throughout this time. And we will be releasing a massive new update on Reed towards the beginning of January. And the objective of this platform is to allow just regular freelancers to work with massive clients, right? Because for the longest time, if you go on any freelance marketplace, you'll probably find short-term, very small opportunities that you can do many of. But what we're doing is that we're launching a platform for work. Like if you're a company, you can just sign up and start hiring immediately freelancers and staff them on projects and even get your team to manage their payments and so on. So that's the first thing that we're doing. The second thing is going to be reskilling. This is going to be a focus for us next year, definitely. And we think it's quite important for the equilibrium of the market because if you kept getting all those opportunities on the marketplace and then we end up not staffing them correctly, or the client ends up being disappointed with the outcome, this industry will never grow, or we as Ureed will never grow. So what we're trying to do right now, and we start focusing on massively next year, is to allow freelancers with very basic skills to grow their career with us. We want to become their partner in this journey, and we're committing to that, whether by completely reskilling them into a different category, whether you're a math graduate or you've been working in design and you want to switch to software, you'll be able to do that. And the second thing is the soft skills that matter to employers, things related to handling clients, payments, communications, contracts, and so on. And this is something that we're committed to providing all those freelancers with through upskilling, right? And the last thing that we're doing is that we're working with both companies and regulators to make all those transactions compliant. Because once you make sure that companies can de-risk all this process of hiring freelancers, it will open a huge door for us and for the freelancers as well, to come comfortably and transact with those companies on either short-term or long-term contracts. So I think that basically wraps up what we have in mind for next year.
All right. Great to know about the expansion plans of Ureed.
Yeah.
So, Marwan, now let's just take a few questions from the audience. So let me take the first one, and the user is asking, so since you have your key focus on the MENA region, are there any other geographies that you are focusing on? There would be companies in the Middle East who would be looking for freelancers, but if I am from US or Australia and I would like to work for any company in the Middle East, so will that be working with Ureed? Is it workable there or acceptable?
It's not impossible. Again, we match the client with the talent that they're looking for. So if you're based in the US and the client wants an Arabic speaker or they want an Urdu speaker, you cannot say no to them, right? So of course, we welcome freelancers from all over the world, but at this stage, we're focusing only on clients from the region, and we're focusing on actively acquiring talent from the region. So we're going to be doing a lot of promotions and active participation in boot camps, universities, and schools to acquire those talents here. But if we got freelancers from any other geography around the world, of course, we're going to welcome them into our community, and we'll give them the same access that we give to every single freelancer from here in the region. But we see a major demand for MENA-based talent. So regardless of things like your nationality or anything like that, we don't even collect this kind of information. But if the client requires you to be physically present in this part of the world, then we're required to provide talent from here.
Okay. So thanks for the extensive answer, and I believe this answered the question. And so at Ureed, you must be actually dealing in situations where freelancers are not getting paid or they are having some problems with the payment system. So how do you help eliminate such problems at Ureed?
So that's actually the reason we exist in the first place, right? So the process in Ureed works very simply that if the client and the freelancer got to an agreement and they want to establish a contract, we're the contracting entity, right? We're the party that ensures that the freelancer will get paid on time and the company will be provided the right payment facilitation they need. So even though the clients, the enterprise clients, for example, they don't have to pay upfront for anything, we pay the freelancers on a weekly basis, unless the client has a dispute on the contract or has a problem or an issue with the contract, right? So if you're a freelancer and you're working with us on a project, we guarantee that you're going to get paid weekly or by bank transfer bi-weekly. So whether the client paid or not, it's always our responsibility to fulfill that. If you agreed on with the client on milestones instead of working, for an extended period of time, what we do is that we have an escrow account. The client needs to submit a valid payment method, and they need to deposit a certain amount of money in their wallet that equates to whatever this milestone is worth. So if you agreed to build a landing page and you're a software engineer and you agree to build a landing page or a small piece of software, and this will cost the client $100. We take this $100 and keep it in the client's wallet as escrow. And once the client is happy with the deliverable, we immediately release the money into the freelancer's wallet. And we provide options for the freelancers to release their money, whether by Payoneer or PayPal or through bank transfer. So if you work on the platform, you will always guarantee to get your payment as long as the client is happy with the outcome. In case the client is not happy, then we do dispute resolution, where we bring in experts in those fields to review the brief versus the deliverable, and then we make a decision whether or not to release the payment on time.
Okay, so I think that answers the questions. Let us just take one last question. I think it's pretty much general, but I have valuable to answer. So is there any particular minimum or maximum ticket slots that you create at Ureed for freelancers to work on?
Sorry, minimum
tickets, ticket amount for clients that you create at Ureed?
Not really. We have a minimum of $5, but the reason we do that is that if you want to withdraw this money, the transaction fees is going to be more than the actual job size. But we are a marketplace. We don't dictate the terms on either the freelancer or the employer. If you think that you're worth $100 an hour, we leave you have that. And if the client thinks that this job is worth $5, and it's up to the freelancer to decide whether or not they want the job, right? So we don't really interfere in the ticket size of the project. We leave it completely to the discretion of the freelancer and the employer.
All right. So I think that answers the question. So I believe we are done with the session, and we can close this meeting today. And I believe it would be valuable for all the attendees. And for those who want to have the recording, we have many questions regarding the recording. So it is already live, and once we end the broadcast, you will be able to watch this recording via YouTube, LinkedIn, or our Facebook channel of LAFFAZ. And thank you, Marwan, for having connecting with us today and answering the questions.
My pleasure.
Let's meet everyone. Thank you all for attending. Have a nice day. Stay safe. See you in the next episode of LAFFAZlive very soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.